I don't remember what my resolution is, and therefore I haven't broken it.
Hello and welcome to Outside the Fox, where we explore what's happening online and why it matters. I'm Steve Flavin.
And I'm Kim Horcher. Oh, that was bad. And this is our first, Steven, this is our first episode of 2026.
Yeah, we're a couple weeks late. It's not the New Year's, it's not New Year's Eve anymore, but we're still festive. We're still in the mood.
Sure.
I'm never taking this off. This is like fully going to be part of my wardrobe from now on.
Yeah, sorry. I'm underdressed because someone took all of the New Year's decorations.
Do you want mine?
No, I'm talking about you. I'm good. We're all good. We all look great. Oh, so we're not doing it? You match
I'm not
so
gonna,
well, though.
I mean, maybe at some point it'll come back.
All right.
I don't know. The glasses, I could pull off the glasses. Though.
Yeah, I think you could. If they were like not made of paper, you could incorporate it into a look.
Okay, very Aunt Gladys coded.
Yeah, as long as you don't pull any sticks or hairs out of your bag, we're good.
Well, on that note, what are we talking about today?
Well, we are talking about curating our online environments better. I mean, we talk about so much in January, maybe even parts of February, about our resolutions, and that often involves, maybe what we eat and changing what we eat. But let's think about that in another way. How does what we see online nourish us, if at all? And I would say for a lot of people, including myself, maybe it's I'm just having junk food and things that are bad for me. We see so many things online that don't make us happy, like maybe hustle culture, or we'll see things that make us feel left out, or maybe perpetuate some negativity in our lives even.
Yeah, 100%. Well, first of all, I'm going to call myself out. The last time we had a New Year's episode, we talked about our New Year's tech resolutions, and I proclaimed that I did not care about screen time, that was not going to be one of my resolutions. And then I took it back. During the year, I actually became conscious about my screen time. So we're living in a web of lies. But I feel like it's like a positive like switcheroo, right? Like it's, if you're going to go back on your New Year's resolution, I feel like it was a positive development to care more about how I'm getting sucked into my device.
To start to care?
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember what my resolution is, and therefore I haven't broken it.
It's in the past, and we're moving forward, and that's all you can do.
So I have a bad habit, and that is scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And then asking myself, why do I feel sad? And that is doom scrolling in a nutshell, where you keep watching and you get overwhelmed, maybe a little anxious. At least I get a little anxious watching other content and feeling like, I'm not in it. I'm being left behind. Why am I not better at anything? And it's just, I think it's blaming yourself when maybe you should blame yourself for doom scrolling instead.
Well, I have a couple of recommendations. We actually did an article, or we did a whole episode about doom scrolling in a couple seasons ago. So long ago that I don't even remember what our recommendations were. I imagine it was something, like what I'm about to mention, which is in curating my news feed. So I get my news from a few different sources, but my actual feed itself, I try to be really thoughtful about what keywords that I'll allow or filter out. It tends to be, for me, focused more on entertainment and tech news and things that are not as political or like big world events or things that, I'm not ignorant of those things. There are definitely moments in the day where I will go and intentionally read about world news or political news, but I take a deep breath and I dive in, but I leave it out of my actual feed. So when I'm just casually scrolling through, it's less likely that those things are going to seep in. Every once in a while, there are certain, monumental, breaking news stories that find their way into, especially if they're related to entertainment and tech. So you can't completely avoid it. But that's been my little life hack of mostly avoiding doom scrolling. But I would say that it's still just by the nature of having a feed and something that constantly refreshes during the day, I do find myself mindlessly going back to that news feed periodically during the day. It's like we can't allow ourselves to be bored anymore. Anytime you're standing in line, anytime you have a moment where your brain goes off, the instinct is to reach for your device.
I think, tech sometimes or social media sometimes gets a bad blanket rap where it's like everything is bad. It's all bad and not one part of it is good. Mm-hmm. But there are ways to connect with people online. There are people who are not actively terrible, and let's focus on the good if we can, for different feel-good accounts that we can follow in 2026, which we are now in, and it's not New Year's.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, let's dive in. I'm curious, who are you following these days?
So a little bit of this is self-promotion. I follow the Grant Imahara STEAM Foundation. So this is a foundation that I work with, and I do contribute to it, which is I do their social videos. And this was made, Grant Imahara was one of the Mythbusters build team. He passed away sadly in 2020. He was a good friend of mine. So me and some other much more talented and scientifically minded people made this nonprofit to help get STEAM education into the hands of all children for free, regardless of their family's income level. So there's this thing now where you can build a robot that fights, like in, maybe a famous bot battling show that Grant participated in. And it's just Lego and different Arduinos and basic technology that you can program, and an Xbox controller. And it's a lot of fun. It incites creativity. It's very, well, I mean, it's low cost, but for the kids, it's free. So that's something that I've really appreciated. And we have different people who have jobs in STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, doing different videos. I think you know a few of them.
Yeah.
Who are helping kids show how accessible it could be to have a career in robotics, in things that were related to rockets, even.
Yeah, that's so cool. I actually used to produce kids content in the STEAM arena.
Oh,
so
great.
that it was a whole other life ago. It was really cool and inspiring to see them. Especially we also did like a bot building like YouTube show, and it's that's really cool to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I have a few others. I know someone named, well, her name is Dorina, but she goes by DJ Bruja.
Okay.
Where she creates newsletters and music that are both free and on Patreon, that are empowering in dark times, which I know nothing about. And she's also a weird goth person who, I mean that in a very positive way. And she is a big fan of horror, like you are. Indeed. I think you might enjoy her.
Well, I should check her out for sure.
Yeah. Another one I like is primarily a YouTube channel called Good Time Society. And this is a tabletop RPG actual play channel that is genuinely good fun and not toxic. And I feel like I do need to say that in the tabletop space sometimes. But they are genuinely good people at the Good Time Society.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I could talk a little bit about people that I follow. This is also a shameless plug. So one of my first projects for Mozilla was a YouTube series called Firefox Presents. Still very proud of it. It's on our YouTube channel, so check it out. There's 7 episodes. We followed different creators and people who are doing really interesting stuff and basically finding their own or building their own communities online around their various causes. And some of my favorites include Zyla Foxlin, who I understand is a mutual acquaintance.
She is my friend, and I did meet her through the STEAM Foundation.
That's so cool.
Because there's a whole special on her. And I actually interviewed a child who was so inspired by her, she launched a rocket.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, she does the craziest stuff. She's like launching Christmas trees into space. She's, she's building canoes out of, she's a very interesting engineer and just like all around interesting, insightful person. She's also a pilot, and is advocating for mental health and aviation, and has a lot of really interesting content around that. So check her out. We also did an episode on Rachel Maxey, who's a legendary cosplayer, and she does amazingly complex makeup designs, including a lot of horror films that I love. And most recently, she did a version of Jacob Elordi's Frankenstein. And she looked like it's like chef's kiss, like 10 out of 10, absolutely spot on. And every year she does what she calls Maxoween, where she does looks throughout the month of October that are extremely elaborate. I think she did Beetlejuice this year and a couple of others. Those are just off the top of my head, but it brings my heart joy for sure. And then the third that I'll mention, I mean, there's a ton. You should check out the whole series, but I'm very partial to Lex, the Lexicon artist, who's a nerdcore rap artist. And
you're going to need to explain that to me.
It's like nerd rap. And she's assembled a whole community around it, and or has tapped into the community, I would say.
Is it like chiptune, or is it just straight up rapping?
It's straight up rapping, but about nerdy subjects. And so, this like near and dear to my heart as a self-professed nerd. But she's also just hilarious. Her lyrics, like, yeah, those are some examples. We also did a series on the Mozilla channel called Rise 25. That's about people working in tech who are doing really cool, inspiring things. And I would check out any of those creators. That's it. What's funny is that in the making of those series, I ended up following a lot of them on social media, and their stuff still pops up in my feed, and it just sparks joy just to see the cool stuff that they're working on, but also they're just like genuinely great people that I've really enjoyed working with.
So that's a great list from both of us. Not to pat myself on the back, but I think maybe people don't necessarily vibe with the things that we love. So I wanted to think of what are some essential components that might inspire other people to come up with feeds that are more gentle and kind on themselves and don't make them want to doom scroll and feel bad. And I think something to consider would be someone who genuinely inspires you, not necessarily, an inspirational account where it's just full of text adages, but something that genuinely makes you feel inspired, curious, energized, and that you vibe with. It could be corny, sure.
Humor is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Someone who makes you laugh. I'm always looking for accounts that can expand my worldview a little bit. Marginalized voices that I wouldn't necessarily, immediately consider, and kind of reframe things for me in a cool way. Brands that aren't exploitative. I try to be thoughtful about the brands that I allow into my feed, and the content that they're making. It's a little bit tricky because I work in marketing, so I follow a lot of accounts for research.
That you don't necessarily like personally.
I don't necessarily like them personally, but I want to know what they're doing.
It's true.
So it does, I guess maybe in an earlier episode, we talked about like the Finsta and Rinsta accounts, like the fake Instagram, real Instagram. Like maybe I need to like have an offline Instagram account that's just the besties. Accounts that spark curiosity. I think, you mentioned STEAM. I'm not necessarily a science person, but I do follow a couple of nature accounts that are really interesting. And it's just kind of fun to see like little factoids every once in a while, or, just like cute animal videos.
Like genuinely learning something that's in your line of thought. So those are things to consider. I mean, you're going to have to tailor your own feed, or you can just copy mine word for word, but I don't think that's going to make you as happy as it makes me happy.
Yeah. And, of course, there's always the consideration as you're pruning your accounts and your people that you follow. I try to be mindful of this every few months. Unfollowing is with love. Not everybody is necessarily worth your energy. there are, and it becomes tricky, I think, when you are following people who you're friends with.
I just mute them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I would recommend in most of those cases, because in a lot of cases, I still want to stay in touch with them. I just might not like their content.
I just want to say there's some people that I feel obligated to follow for they're going to bully me if I don't.
Something else I would recommend, which is only something that I discovered recently. This isn't a new feature by any stretch of the imagination, but there's an option in Instagram where you can follow, or it'll show you a feed of exactly who you follow, as opposed to the algorithmic feed of, I don't want to assign a percentage to it because I'd have to fact check myself, but I would say a vast chunk of the content that shows up in my feed tends to be either sponsored content or it's being recommended to me because it's similar to other content that I've interacted with before, and it's kind of frustrating. It's very draining.
Fully for me, it's buy this stuff, buy that stuff. And if I accidentally click on an ad, oh boy, will I be inundated with similar stuff to that ad.
Yeah. And it was such a breath of fresh air when I discovered, oh, you can actually filter it by just the people that you follow. It made me realize, oh, I do have good taste. Like this is exactly what I want to see in my feed.
I can be happy.
Yeah.
It is possible.
Indeed.
I'm half joking.
Yeah, well, I mean, as always, I like to tie it back to Firefox and to Mozilla and, really just emphasizing that it's our belief that we have a choice over our digital environments. It's worth remembering that it's your feed. It's not the platform.
The sense of relief I just felt in hearing that.
100%. You're in the driver's seat. It's your feed. Also a good reminder that we can step away from our feeds once in a while. We don't have to be glued to the internet 24/7.
Big if true.
But what we really want to know is who are you following in 2026 and what makes you feel good online? Let us know in the comments.
Yes, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and be sure to download Firefox because you know it's the best. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. And
Happy New
Happy
Year!
New Year! No.